Welcome to English Practice Every Day. Synonyms can be tricky. You might understand their meanings but still struggle to use them in the right context. In this video, we will explore how to use these 12 synonyms for the word block as a verb in their proper contexts. We will practice them with simple example sentences that reflect everyday situations. After the practice, we'll read aloud a short story that uses all these synonyms in their proper context, helping us understand them better. Let's start. Please speak out loud with me as we practice. Block. Block. In a proper context, block is the most general term for preventing movement, progress, or access. Block is the most general term for preventing movement, progress, or access. The fallen tree blocked the road. The fallen tree blocked the road. The goalkeeper blocked the shot. The goalkeeper blocked the shot. The curtains blocked the sunlight. The curtains blocked the sunlight. He stood in the doorway, blocking the exit. He stood in the doorway, blocking the exit. Heavy traffic blocked the way to the airport. Heavy traffic blocked the way to the airport. Obstruct. Obstruct. In a proper context, obstruct means to block something physically or figuratively, often causing difficulty. Obstruct means to block something physically or figuratively, often causing difficulty. The parked car obstructed my view. The parked car obstructed my view. The protest obstructed traffic for hours. The protest obstructed traffic for hours. His big bag obstructed the narrow doorway. His big bag obstructed the narrow doorway. The politician was accused of obstructing justice. The politician was accused of obstructing justice. Her lack of cooperation obstructed the team's progress. Her lack of cooperation obstructed the team's progress. Choke. Choke. In a proper context, choke means to block something by restricting its flow, often in a literal or figurative sense. Choke means to block something by restricting its flow, often in a literal or figurative sense. The dust choked him. The dust choked him. Fear choked her words. Fear choked her words. The smoke choked the city. The smoke choked the city. The drain was choked with leaves. The drain was choked with leaves. The weeds choked the growth of the plants. The weeds choked the growth of the plants. Plug. Plug. In a proper context, plug means to block a hole or gap, often to stop the flow of something. Plug means to block a hole or gap, often to stop the flow of something. I used a cork to plug the bottle. I used a cork to plug the bottle. Joe plugged the hole with cement. Joe plugged the hole with cement. The plumber plugged the broken pipe. The plumber plugged the broken pipe. The mechanic plugged the leak in the tire. The mechanic plugged the leak in the tire. He plugged his ears to block out the music. He plugged his ears to block out the music. Seal. Seal. In a proper context, seal means to block something tightly, often to prevent air, water, or other substances from entering or escaping. Also, figuratively, to decide. Seal means to block something tightly, often to prevent air, water, or other substances from entering or escaping. Also, figuratively, to decide. The envelope was sealed shut. The envelope was sealed shut. The wound was sealed with stitches. The wound was sealed with stitches. The jar was sealed to keep the food fresh. The jar was sealed to keep the food fresh. The windows were sealed to block the cold air. The windows were sealed to block the cold air. The company sealed the deal with a handshake. The company sealed the deal with a handshake. Close, close. In a proper context, close means to block an entrance, passage, or opening by shutting it. Close means to block an entrance, passage, or opening by shutting it. Please close the door. Please close the door. The store is closed on Sundays. The store is closed on Sundays. The bridge was closed for repairs. The bridge was closed for repairs. He closed his eyes and tried to relax. He closed his eyes and tried to relax. They closed the road for construction. They closed the road for construction. Stop, stop. In a proper context, stop means to block movement, progress, or action, often temporarily. Stop means to block movement, progress, or action, often temporarily. The police stopped the fight. The police stopped the fight. The car stopped at the red light. The car stopped at the red light. Please stop talking during the movie. Please stop talking during the movie. The rain stopped the construction work. The rain stopped the construction work. The guard stopped us from entering the building. The guard stopped us from entering the building. Halt, halt. In a proper context, halt means to block or stop something suddenly or forcefully. Halt means to block or stop something suddenly or forcefully. The fighting halted after the ceasefire. The fighting halted after the ceasefire. Production was halted due to the strike. Production was halted due to the strike. The accident halted traffic on the highway. The accident halted traffic on the highway. The train was halted due to a technical issue. The train was halted due to a technical issue. The teacher halted the class to address the noise. The teacher halted the class to address the noise. Arrest, arrest. In a proper context, arrest means to block or stop something, often in a formal or legal context. Arrest means to block or stop something, often in a formal or legal context. The police arrested the suspect. The police arrested the suspect. The medicine arrests the spread of infection. The medicine arrests the spread of infection. The security forces arrested the violent protest. The security forces arrested the violent protest. The economic crisis arrested the country's growth. The economic crisis arrested the country's growth. The new law arrested the spread of misinformation. The new law arrested the spread of misinformation. Impede, impede. In a proper context, impede means to block or slow down progress or movement. Impede means to block or slow down progress or movement. The heavy snowfall impeded travel. The heavy snowfall impeded travel. Lack of funding impeded the research. Lack of funding impeded the research. Bureaucracy can impede development. Bureaucracy can impede development. Noise impeded my ability to concentrate. Noise impeded my ability to concentrate. Bad weather impeded the rescue operation. Bad weather impeded the rescue operation. Hamper, hamper. In a proper context, hamper means to block or interfere with progress, often by creating difficulties. Hamper means to block or interfere with progress, often by creating difficulties. The rain hampered our picnic plans. The rain hampered our picnic plans. Fear can hamper your decision making. Fear can hamper your decision making. His poor health hampered his career growth. His poor health hampered his career growth. The storm hampered the delivery of supplies. The storm hampered the delivery of supplies. The lack of communication hampered the project. The lack of communication hampered the project. Hinder, hinder. In a proper context, hinder means to block or slow down progress, often by creating obstacles. Hinder means to block or slow down progress, often by creating obstacles. The strong winds hindered the climbers. The strong winds hindered the climbers. The lack of funding hindered the research. The lack of funding hindered the research. Negative thoughts can hinder your success. Negative thoughts can hinder your success. The lack of sleep hindered his performance. The lack of sleep hindered his performance. The language barrier hindered communication. The language barrier hindered communication. Stonewall, stonewall. In a proper context, stonewall means to block or delay something, especially by refusing to cooperate or provide information. Stonewall means to block or delay something, especially by refusing to cooperate or provide information. The government stonewalled the media. The government stonewalled the media. The committee stonewalled the investigation. The committee stonewalled the investigation. The witness stonewalled during the interrogation. The witness stonewalled during the interrogation. The politician stonewalled the reporter's questions. The politician stonewalled the reporter's questions. The company stonewalled questions about its finances. The company stonewalled questions about its finances. I hope the contextual use of all these synonyms is clear to you. Let's now read a short story that uses all these words in their proper context. Title of the story: Roadblocks and Resilience. Jake had planned everything for his big road trip. His car was packed, the route was mapped, and the excitement was building. But from the very start, obstacles kept getting in his way. As he drove through town, he suddenly hit a traffic jam. A large tree had fallen across the road and blocked his way. Cars honked, and people tried to find another route. Frustrated, Jake checked his GPS for a detour. Just when he found a new way, a double-parked truck obstructed his view of the intersection. He carefully inched forward, trying to see past it. When he finally turned, he realized that a protest was obstructing the main street, forcing him to take yet another detour. Moving ahead, he noticed thick smoke rising in the distance. As he got closer, he saw a small fire on the roadside. The air filled with smoke, and it choked his lungs. He quickly rolled up his windows and turned on the air conditioner. Meanwhile, a drain nearby was choked with leaves, causing water to flood the street. Determined to keep going, he sped up a little. But soon he heard a strange noise coming from his tire. He pulled over and saw a nail stuck in it. Thankfully, he had a repair kit. He plugged the hole with some sealant and reinflated the tire, hoping it would hold until he found a mechanic. After fixing the tire, he continued driving. But as he reached the highway, a checkpoint sealed off the road. Police officers were checking every vehicle. A long line of cars formed behind him. What now? Jake sighed. The officer finally waved him forward, checked his license, and let him through. Further ahead, a bridge he needed to cross was closed for repairs. He sighed and followed the sign for an alternate route. As he drove along the narrow road, he saw a beautiful lake. He decided to take a short break, closing his eyes for a moment to relax. Refreshed, he got back on the road, only to be stopped at another checkpoint. The police had set up a roadblock and were checking for missing persons. They stopped every car. "Routine check," an officer said. After a few minutes, Jake was allowed to continue. But his problems weren't over. A major accident up ahead had halted all traffic. Ambulances and fire trucks rushed to the scene. He waited for nearly an hour before the road was cleared. As he finally approached the mountain pass, a landslide had completely arrested movement. The authorities had to clear the rocks before letting vehicles through. While waiting, Jake overheard a group of tourists talking. One of them said, "This landslide has completely arrested our travel plans." When the road was cleared, he continued his journey, but now heavy snowfall impeded his progress. His tires struggled to grip the icy road. Slowly he made his way through the mountain pass, hoping to reach warmer areas soon. Then the rain started. It poured heavily, hampering visibility. He turned on his headlights and wipers, but the road became slippery. His speed reduced and he drove cautiously. Just as he thought things couldn't get worse, strong winds hindered his movement. Tree branches swayed dangerously, and he had to maneuver carefully. His hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. Finally, after hours of struggling, he reached his destination, a cozy cabin in the countryside. He was about to check in when the receptionist frowned at her computer screen. "Sir, we don't have your booking," she said. Jake showed his email confirmation, but the staff stonewalled him, refusing to admit their mistake. "We are fully booked," they insisted. Jake sighed. "After everything I went through today," he muttered. He took a deep breath and decided to find another place to stay. No matter how many obstacles came his way, he wouldn't let anything block his adventure. End of story. That's all for this synonyms in context practice session. Please try to use these synonyms in their proper context in your speaking over the next few days to enhance your understanding of them. Bye for now.